Good day and welcome to another week of a week at the plot. It's pretty grey today, you can see the sky there. It's much cooler, it's about 12, 13 degrees at the moment, something like that. Magpies fluttering in and out, a little bit of a breeze. But yeah, much greyer. And there's a setup over there that I'll be coming on to in a minute with chair and wheelbarrows and things. But first, let's just pop into the greenhouse. I'm glad to say that our broad beans have started germinating. I think this one had germinated last week. But there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20 that I can see out of these 60, 21, 60 so far have 22 have germinated, so that's grand. 23, and I am keeping these on top of them. I have actually been having them on like that, but you can see now that this one is nudging the top, so they're now going on this way, just as a deterrent for mice. I mean, mice can still get in there, but I've now got these slats closed permanently. The window up here is on an opener closer, and when I go at night or when I leave the plot, these doors are shut as well. So yeah, I as I said last week, I saw a mouse in the poly, not quite sure how it got in, but I just thought it was best to keep these in here. And actually, with the temperature that we've got at the moment, it's pretty good, really. Nothing germinating in our lettuce, our winter lettuce that we sowed a few days ago. Not surprisingly, I haven't labelled it either. Whatever comes up, comes up. I know there's only 5 Marvel of 4 Seasons and lots of Arctic King. So if there's lots of germination one side, it will be Arctic King. If there's only 5 one side, it will be Marvel of 4 Seasons, because the Arctic King seed was really old. Still got tomatoes and squash down there, colouring up, which is grand. And the other day I did harvest what I think is going to be our last cucumber. There are, in this middle plant, there are a few cucumbers that have pollinated and are going for it, but I think that the days are just getting too cool for this to go. So I think what I will do is take these out later in the week, refresh the compost, and then something else will go in there. And the Cannon Hall grape, which has grown well this year, having been given it last year, you can see the leaves on that are going as well. But that's fine, that's fine. I've got a dead bit here, which I will just sort of prune back. Doesn't go too far, goes down to there. So yeah, I'll be pruning that back. Anyway, let's have a chat about that. Last week's A Week at the Plot finished on Saturday, as it very often does, because I edit on Sunday and get it uploaded. People on coffee have it a day earlier, and then it goes live on Monday morning now. So Sunday is a day where I usually come down and potter, and I might just be sorting out pots and just pottering down here, not doing any major work. But when I was down on Sunday, I decided it was time to turn the compost in the black compost bin. So I did do that, and I'm really pleased I did. There's good compost at the bottom, still new stuff at the top, and I got my compost sort of driver. You sort of screw it down and then pull it up, and it turns the compost that way. I got that in there and ended up doing maybe, you know, 15 minutes with it or something like that, and that was fine. I've just checked it now, and there's a little Roland the rat in there at the moment. I opened the lid and it was inside, and it looked up at me and sort of said, "What are you doing?" So I shut the lid, gave it a little tap, and off Ratty went. But that's the thing with compost bins, you know, particularly cold composting. You know, rats enjoy the warmth and they enjoy some of the food. So, you know, you have to live with it. They do sort of make me jump, but I saw this same rat the other day when I was doing the compost bin on Sunday, and it was walking along, and I was thinking, what a cutie, you know, and then up it pops today in the compost bin. But yeah, that's that compost bin turned. So that's really good. And that got my mood going, really. And I thought, right, what I'm going to do is what I've got on my plan to do over the autumn and winter months, and that is empty compost bins. So that's what I did on Sunday. So we're just going to travel back in time a little bit to Sunday afternoon. It was a glorious day. I can't remember if it was glorious whilst I was doing this, but by the end of the day it really was. And I did quite a lot of work with the compost bin. Let's just have a look at that. I like to show you the good, the bad and the ugly. And this is certainly the ugly. I forgot I put a plastic bag at the bottom of this perennial weed compost bin. And in fact, I think the best way to empty it is most likely going to roll it out. Yeah, there's bindweed in here. Look at those snails. They're going to be rehoused to a dead hedge. There's some down there as well. They'll be rehoused. This is an area I really want to tidy up this winter. Oh yeah, and look, just a cursory look in. Again, glue from boxes, bits of plastic. To be fair, the perennial weed bin, I tend to take the perennial weeds out that go into it and then just shove them into it, so I don't sift through it as much with plastic and things. But yeah, I mean, there's some decent compost in there. I sort of need to find somewhere to put it, and I'm mulling sort of there. Oh, actually, no, this is a sensible place, isn't it? Because I can relatively easily move it from there to empty it. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. We've got no fruit in this area, so I'm just going to sort of try and get it on top of here, and then we can have a look at what the perennial weed compost bin contains. That is now empty. And here we have it. Let's just sit here a moment, put the thing down. Again, like the hot bin the other week, quite a few plastics, but what's not in here is the food waste bags, because this compost is made up solely of perennial weeds, and I can see some squash seeds in there as well. There's always squash seeds in things, but yeah, this is mainly cinquefoil, bindweed, couch grass, dandelions, weeds that are sort of perennial or pernicious. So obviously when you take up some of those things, the roots have soil compost around them, so that has gone into here. But as you can see, there's a lot of blue in there, there's a lot of white in there, and just like the hot bin composter, I'm going to have to sort through this bit by bit. So I'm going to grab a wheelbarrow, put this into it, and then spend time over the next few days sorting it out. Again, I'm sweating the big stuff rather than the small stuff on microplastics. I just think it's what I have to do. After a bit in the late morning, which is what that was when I did that bin, I came back in the afternoon and I carried on sieving the compost and taking out bits of plastic and things like that that were in there. And I have to say, I'm rather pleased with the outcome. I didn't come down here yesterday, Monday, so I've got watering to do. But I'm also going to carry on sifting the rest of the compost using my my soil sieve. So let me get on and do a little bit of that. Let's have a quick shufty through. It's a big stone. Some string that can come out. Any plastic that I'm seeing, I'm taking out now. A bit there. It's a bit breaking this up. I've got 2 pairs of gloves on. I find it works better for me, 2 pairs of gloves. There's a bit of plastic there. It's a stone. There's some there. If there's any plastic I see as I'm doing this, it's coming out and going into a bin just at the side of me. Press this down a bit. Sometimes you find metal in here as well. There's a bit of plastic, a bit of metal, a bit of plastic. More bits of plastic. Right. Right, that is going in the bin there. We'll look at that in a minute. Bit of plastic there. But yeah, this is what's coming out. That's a bit of flint. Not too bad really. Not too bad. Not surprisingly quite dry. Anyway, carry on, Paul. That wheelbarrow is now empty. There's most probably a little bit more I can pick up from here. I'll give that a hand go through for plastics, but I think I've got most of it. All of this in here is the plastic that's come out. So that is obviously going to go into our general waste at home. Over here, now, oh, I've just caught myself on the sunflower. There's still a few plastics in this, but much of this is wood or bits of ground. Well, that's not, but some of this is ground that will break up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into a big trug and put water into it. And my thought is that the bits of plastic like that will float to the surface, and over time, and I can scoop those out, and over time the rest of this will break down. Of course, just thinking about that as I do think about it and I say it, any pumpkin seeds and wood will float as well, won't they? So yeah, anyway, I will have a think about that, but I think I'll mostly do that, but I'll have a think about it. And this is what we've ended up with. Pretty decent compost. I will give this another go through. There's another little bit of green there. This I know, that's eggshell. A little bit there is eggshell. But we've got that, which I've just finished doing now. And then we've got this one that I did on Sunday afternoon. So from that one compost bin, which was about 3/4 full in the end, after it had composted down, we've got 2 usable barrows of compost for our beds, which I'm really pleased about. So actually I was really pleased with what I did on Sunday, and I'm really pleased with the additional 20 minutes, half an hour that I've done today. I have got a bag here to take the plastics home. I'm going to take that home straight away and put it into our general waste. There's no point in leaving it down here, particularly outside, even though it's relatively still at the moment. Who knows whether, you know, it'll get blowy later on and that plastic will start flying over the plot again, and we certainly don't want that, having spent quite a lot of time sifting it out. Underneath the compost bin in future, I will always either just put cardboard, or I will put a metal mesh to try and stop rats getting in. Though very often what they will do is they'll nibble through the side and get in that way. If they think there's something worthwhile inside, you know, they will try and do that. But I definitely won't put plastic bags at the base of a compost bin ever again. So yeah, that I am absolutely confident I will never do. I'm sure when I look at some of the other compost bins, there will be bags at the bottom and I will be getting rid of those. But yeah, but look, 2 barrow loads of decent compost that can go onto our beds to feed future plants and feed the soil in particular. It's the soil that we're conditioning and looking after, and by doing that, that soil will have decent minerals and, you know, goodness and nutrients and good moisture retention in it to allow plants to grow better. So yeah, pleased about those 2 barrow loads of compost. Right, I'm going to leave it there for today. See you very soon. Hopefully, maybe with a bit more sun. But maybe the grey blanket is here to stay. Who knows? See you then. Bye. Good day. We have rain coming and I need to get the chard in that we looked at the other day. So I think they will go fine down here. I might take these all out, as I said, I think in the tour of the plot, take all of these out and just use them as flavourings, which would mean me chopping them up and freezing them so that they could go straight into soups as a flavouring rather than as a main food source, because they've not really bulked up enough. I think down to the fact we haven't had rain and I haven't watered them enough. Fennel really likes water. And then I've continued weeding our beetroot, and then you can see just beyond that endive I've weeded over there as well. And of course, in doing weeding, you're right down at the ground, seeing what's what, and generally the first sort of 4 inches is pretty dry. So we're due rain on Sunday. It's now Friday afternoon, but I think tomorrow, in fact maybe even before I go this evening, in fact yes, before I go this afternoon, I'm going to water the dazzling blue kale, which are here, and the various lettuce, which are in here. Just give them a little bit of a boost. Still to put the compost out, but I did think that actually, you know, we put compost on this bed, which needs another weed. Put compost in this bed a few weeks ago. This was from the hot bin. I'm going to put some of that compost onto here, some down here, and yeah, I think that will be good to lift the nutrients and soil structure for the chard, which is going to go in. I've been deadheading as well. I'm leaving some of these to go to seed, to collect seed from, because they have been rather good. So I've got a sort of trio there, one there, and this one here, that I'm sort of hoping to bunch together when they're ready and take seeds from those. Those will carry on like the rest of them until we have a frost. And I was just noticing this tomato. This is one of the Croatian ones, Croatian plum. And look, it's still producing. Yeah, I mean, I think I should get in there and take some shoots off, but it's producing. Maybe because it's Croatian, it prefers it's quite happy with a little bit of colder weather. But I think these will be coming out. The rest of the tomatoes will be coming out shortly. Not quite so many planes going over as were going over when I did the plot tour. In the plot tour, they seemed to be coming over really regularly and really loud, like the one going over now. But also it's really still. We've had the grey blanket of cloud for days, and it's because the air isn't moving, so the cloud has just sort of laid there on top of us. And yeah, so when planes go over, I think I notice them more. When things are windy, you know, or when there's quite a lot of noise going on, you don't hear them quite as much. But anyway, waffling. Glad with the job I've done today on this bed mainly, and I will continue weeding this one here. Well, not continue. I will continue with my weeding with this one here and this one here, if I can get down here on Saturday or Sunday before the rains come. But yeah, time to do a little bit of watering there. See you very soon. Bye. Good day. It's been a day of spitty, rainy showers so far. We're in a break at the moment, and whilst it was spitting before, I put the compost from earlier in the week. I put that down onto the bed, or the area of the beds where I'm going to be planting this chard. This is 5 colours chard. As you can see, there's various different colours in there: red, sort of whitish yellow, red and yellow mainly. And yeah, these are going to go in today. And I also took out the fennel because I'm taking the fennel home. I'm going to process it today and pop it into the freezer, as I said earlier in the week, to use as a flavouring in things like soups, because none of the bulbs have bulked up enough to use as a bulb. But yeah, so now I need to get these in. They've all got pretty decent root systems, you can see down here. So yeah, what I'm going to do, I won't show you it because you've seen it before, but I like to pop these out and put them into a tray, pop out from the module, put into a tray, because I find it easier to plant them that way. That's the chard in, relatively close to the edge, which I'm not too worried about. I want to give the dazzling blue kale room, particularly to grow on for the spring. So I thought it was more sensible to put them this side. I don't think we'll be doing any netting of the chard, but we will most probably need to continue netting the kale from pigeon and magpie damage from pecking. The chard's had a really good water, and it's going to have another really good water in about 15, 20, 30 minutes, something like that, to bed it in nicely. And talking about things that get pecked, I've noticed that this endive has not been pecked. Whether it's because it's near the turnips that I don't think the magpies and pigeons like, or whether it's because they don't like it, I'm not sure. But I do need to get in there and weed. I need to weed other areas, as I was doing earlier in the week, because I've got another tray of chard to go in at some point. I did think of putting it into this bed, but I want to be sowing in this bed in late February, early March with carrots and parsnips, or particularly carrots. So I thought about putting it in here, but it's not going to go in here. This is the chard that will need to go in soon. This is seed that was gifted to me. It has actually come up either as sort of peppermint or flamingo. So I mean, you can look at the stems, they're all the same colour, they're all pinky. So that seed did seem to come true, and those look like really nice leaves actually. But yeah, they need to go in, and space here at the moment is not something I have a lot of. I mean, I do have space, but planning on what I'm doing for next year, where these are going to go, I'm not sure yet. I think it might be sensible for them to go where the tomatoes are, over here. I think that would be the sensible thing. Of course, as humans, we don't necessarily always do the sensible thing. In fact, we seem to be living in a world where there's an awful lot of ill sense going on. So whether those will end up where I think they're going to end up in the tomato bed, I'm not quite sure. We shall see. Time will tell, as they do say, that old adage which rings so true. Might not tell well, but yeah, time will tell. I'll have a mull. I'm still waiting for the garlic. It's been such a busy week. It's been such a head week for me this week. It really has. There's been a lot going on in here. A lot to do with the Great Green Barn and Perennial and Vanessa. Quite a bit of discombobulation. We had last night, it was a strange case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which was a relatively, well, it was a high-tech show. Lots of changes of lighting states and sound cues and things like that. and the dongle that does all of the lighting, or it sort of makes the lighting happen when it's activated by a human, it wasn't working. So Vanessa had to go trekking around virtually the country to try and find a replacement, which she eventually got on Friday afternoon at about 4 o'clock. So there was there's been a lot going on, and getting back from the Great Green Barn last night at 1:45 midnight and going to bed at 12:15 after a little rest and a cup of tea. Yeah, I felt a little bit hungover this morning, even though I haven't drunk. Richard was the same. It's just those late nights, we're not used to them. We're quite old. But there we are. So yes, we will see what happens with those peppermint stroke flamingo chard over the coming weeks, because I will be planting them out in a week at the plot. So there we are. And now, despite it raining at the moment, spitting at the moment, there's watering to be done. So I'm going to get on and do watering, and at the end of that watering, I will do another watering of the chard I've just put in. So yeah, there we are. Any comments, any questions, any suggestions, please do leave them down below. I do get back to everyone within a matter of days, so that's my endeavour. And usually it happens, if this goes up on a Monday, I've usually got back to people by Wednesday or Thursday. So yeah, there we are. I hope whatever is going on in your garden, your growing space, or your allotment, you're having some decent breaks of weather to get on and do stuff. Certainly that's the case here. We have sort of, quite a bit of rain today. I thought, oh, will I be able to do anything? And then there was a break, then there was a heavy shower, then we had some drizzle, then there was a break. So yeah, when I can get out there, I'm doing what I'm doing on the plot. When it's a bit drizzly, I might be inside tearing up cardboard for the compost bin. I will see you very soon, and happy growing. Bye.